I understand on one hand, directors trying to get the most out of an actor.
Yeah.
But then I understand the flip side. Like, look, they got, depending on the role, of course, they got to go to a place that is not fun to go, and you have this guy
Exactly.
poking them, and it's like, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And I'm not a believer of that, breaking someone or breaking their,
Right.
like I would much rather it be a conversation with an actor and, asking them questions. I'd rather the answers come from them because then it's far more organic and you can see it in performance too.
Welcome, everybody, to Casting for Two, the podcast, as always, hosted by me, Chris. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 390, 10 away from the big 400. Hi, I didn't have an episode last week because it was a heavy week, and I'm feeling it. I'm feeling 2020, and really, it goes past 2020, but still, I'm chugging along. I hope you guys are doing well. Please wear a mask. That's going to be a normal thing that I'm going to say in this intro. Wear a mask, if not for you, but for everybody around you. And also treat people like human beings and individuals. Nobody is better than anyone else. That is another motto I'm going to say at the beginning of the episodes. But, again, I hope you're doing well. Today is a good guest for today. Great guest for today. She is a super producer, super writer, super director, super person in general. Kate Green is on the podcast. Super Canadian also. Not like she's super Canadian, but she's a wonderful Canadian. And also person. I already said that. But she has a project going on right now called NarcoLeap. Season 1's available now. She's going to start filming season 2 in the conditions that we're in. And that really fascinated me. And I wanted to know more about the shooting conditions because this is the first person I've talked to who's actually filming something in the pandemic state that we're in. So very good conversation, and Kate is such a wonderful person. So I'm done talking. All right, wear a mask, be good to each other, and sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode. All right. So Kate, take it away.
Hey, Chris, how's it going?
It's going well. How about yourself?
Oh man, I tell you, I don't know if I'm living the dream or standing on the edge of a cliff.
Is it? Yeah.
But we're just jumping into production, so things are happening here.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'm very curious on hearing about production as far as the situation we're all in.
Yeah, absolutely.
But first, I gotta ask you again.
Yeah.
The whole pandemic going on and being in quarantine and lockdown and all that good stuff. Did you find that your creative juices were at an uptick?
Yeah, well, at the beginning of the lockdown, it was definitely like, it felt very heavy and dark and
Yeah.
unknown. And, when it, like March 16th, 17th, I think that was when my husband and I kind of hunkered down to our
Yeah.
place. And, it was like, is this it? Like, is this actually the apocalypse that they'd be talking about? Like, but then, you have a couple of glasses of wine, and then you're like, this is actually not too bad.
Bring it on.
Bring it on, yeah. And but you know what? I found I was very, very busy. I really did use the time to my advantage. I have a very full slate of projects, and I was able to kind of catch up on all the things that I was wanting to do. And it was actually a really great time because there was far less distractions. Even though, I was checking the news every 5 minutes, but yeah, no, I kind of feel like it was a good time for me, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. And it's funny
Yeah.
because even though a lot of the shooting has halted, as far as
Yeah.
the media creation goes, I mean,
Yeah.
the production is still going. It's just more, post and pre-production
Yeah.
and lots of
Yeah.
meetings and.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have had to be like you talk about the creative, and it has affected the creative for the show, right? So, we're in terms of, maybe I can give some examples of what I'm trying to say. So, not only we're trying to socially distance actors and, all of that, but for instance, the last scene, the soldiers are coming in to, attack the safe house. And, so now we're thinking like, well, maybe they'd have balaclavas on. Maybe if they're in a fight scene, maybe one of the guys has a balaclava or some sort of a mask or something, which it plays into the story. But there was a bunch of driving scenes that we had. And I thought, well, gosh, we can't, we shouldn't be having like 3 or 4 actors in a vehicle all together.
Right.
So let's, they pull over to the side of the road, they've got a flat tire, and the scene takes place on the side of the road, which is actually in a lot of ways more dynamic than being in a car, So like things like that, you have to start to be creative and like, okay, how do I still tell my story? How do I still get, the purpose of the scene across? But, how do I now follow, make sure everyone's comfortable and safe and, not catching COVID from each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And as far as, because again, I'm very interested in talking about the production side of the project right now. But I'm curious, what attracted you towards the entertainment industry in general?
Oh gosh, wow. Well, actually, how far back do we go? When I left,
we go all the way back.
Yeah. Well, I always was a bit of a, I always marched to the beat of my own drum, you could say, and I was always a bit of a showboat, but as a little kid. But when I left high school, I really thought I was going to be going into stage management and do theater. And I eventually ended up at university and taking technical theater. But the program I was in, they made you audition no matter what. Even if you wanted to be a set painter or lighting designer or whatever, everyone auditioned. And I kept getting cast in the plays. And it was really, I loved it. I really enjoyed it. The showman in me enjoyed, it's a great feeling when you make, 300 people or 400 people in a theater laugh and you could feel them, they're with you and they're listening. It's like, it's a wonderful adrenaline rush for sure, and telling a story that way. So, after university, I thought, at the ripe age of 22 or whatever I was, I was like, oh, I'm going to move to Vancouver and become an actress, which I did do for a while. And, I did okay. I got some parts in short films and what have you. But I soon realized that I was going to be a full-time waitress and a part-time actor at best. And I also, at the time, I had an all-female comedy troupe. And we would do like little shows around town and coffee shops and stuff. And we developed these characters. And through that, we wrote a pilot for a TV show, and then all of a sudden I realized like we started pitching it around, and I was kind of organizing this group. And I'm like, oh, this just kind of reminds me back to the stage management. And it's kind of, I like it, and I like the organization, and I like being the one making the phone calls and not waiting for the phone call. And I'm pretty decent at it, So, and it, and I say that with a pinch of salt because it's always hard to say that you're good at something. I find like, it's, to kind of admit or I don't know, own up to it. Like we're so meek, mild, polite Canadians all the time, right? But but through that, it kind of reminded me of the stage management and the production side of things that, that was what I really had started out doing or wanting to do. And I quit my waitressing job at the Canby in Gastown and got into production, and just slowly over the years just kind of made my way up the ladder to the point where I'm now, where I've got my own little company, and I've got some shows happening, and some great projects on my slate that are coming down the pipe. And and like I said, I don't know if I'm living the dream or standing on the edge of a cliff, but either way, I've got a smile on my face. So
as far as the all female comedy troupe, did you ever have a bad show?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think one of the other reasons I stopped acting too was I had terrible nerves, just really just terrible. And, to the point where, I'd be standing, I know my lines, I know my role, I know everything, but I would just get so in my head that, and then sometimes, a couple times I blanked or whatever. And I thought I remember one time being backstage, like, listening and waiting for my cue, and I go, why am I doing this to myself? Like, this is horrible.
Yeah.
Like, why am I and then all of a sudden it's like, dawn, I'm like, I don't have to do this to myself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you find that, you're having a background in that, has enabled you to be a better director?
Yes, absolutely. It took me a little bit to remind myself of some of the language and in the way that is best to communicate and get your ideas across with actors. Like, you can't just, it's, people, you can't just say, oh, like, let's just do it fast, just do it better. Or just do it faster.
That was good, but better.
Yeah. Can you do more blue? More like the color blue. So, it took a little while for me to kind of get up to speed, but, it's like riding a bike. You remember quickly what it's like. And, and the vulnerability too, that actors are always putting forth, right? Yeah.
I understand on one hand, directors trying to get the most out of an actor. But then I understand the flip side. Like, look, they got, depending on the role, of course, they got to go to a place that is not fun to go, and you have this guy poking them, and it's like, ugh.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I'm not a believer of that, breaking someone or breaking their, like, I would much rather it be a conversation with an actor and, asking them questions. I'd rather the answers come from them, because then it's far more organic, and you can see it in performance too.
And I gotta think that it's fulfilling to see something that, a character that you've been writing, that you've been working on, that you have injected, so much of yourself into, and then giving it to somebody else and saying, here you go, and just seeing them run with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember the first, on season 1 of NarcoLeap, and the first time we got our leads in the same room, and it was just like, oh God, I got goosebumps right now, just like thinking about it. It was just that moment of like, oh my God, they're real. Like they're really here finally, and it just, it's like watching your kid walk for the first time, I would think, it was great.
And, we've mentioned it, but you're working on a new season of NarcoLeap. And, that brings me to doing production in COVID, and you've mentioned that you've had to adjust certain things and adjust certain styles or scenes. Is there as far as the producer side goes, was there kind of a handbook or something that they've just the CDC or the Directors Guild released for something? I'm not sure how they're handling this.
So there's a few. So there were a set of protocols or guidelines, I should say. There were guidelines that I think it was WCB had put forward. And then there's a kind of a coalition of unions and like CMPA, I believe, an organization, a coalition that have put together guidelines, which are far more detailed and for each department. But as it stands right now, the rules is that every production comes up with their own set of protocols.
Okay.
So we wrote up our safety plan, our protocols, and we submitted that to Act Safe for review. You don't have to, but we did anyways. And it's not. Everyone kind of has to come up with their own set of rules. So, right. We did hire a safety officer as well, so that there will be somebody on set every day to kind of, monitor and make sure everyone's got PPE and has, there's proper hand washing stations and, and we'll have areas for the cast and, crew will not be allowed in that area. And, so there's all these kind of protocols and things that we've come up for our set. One of the lucky things that we have is that we don't have, a 50-person or 100-person crew. There's 25 of us, I think, altogether, 30 of us, right? So, and then cast on top. But, that's definitely an advantage as well. And then every day, people come in, we'll take their temperature, make sure as soon as you get to set, you wash your hands, you put on your mask, and off you go, and also make sure nobody's, dashed down to the States overnight, or
it's
being
important.
out of the country or, so, and when you think about it, it's really, all the precautions that we are taking and that anyone should be taking are the same precautions that you should be taking when you go to the grocery store.
Right.
I believe at least that you should wear a mask when you're in close quarters and in a store where you might not be able to get out of somebody's way, or you should sanitize your hands before you walk into the store and wash your hands when you walk out. And if you're sick, don't go. So
right.
It's all very common sense stuff, and I know that there's a lot of anxiety for a lot of people, and you just have to keep a level head and just keep in mind that what you're doing, it's just like anything else, how you operate in the world.
Okay, and is the stuff that you're going to be shooting, is it a good mix of set work in live locations, or?
Yeah, it's mostly all practical live locations. We do have one scene which will take place on a soundstage or a stage somewhere. We hope. We're still looking for the space. But yeah, everything else is practical locations, and we're at a house for majority of it, and we have a cleaning crew that's coming in every night. They're going to be, washing all the surfaces, disinfecting all the, cast area, makeup areas, like all of that stuff. And also that's, of course, for the homeowner's safety as well. But, yeah, so, there's definitely been a lot more planning that's had to go into it, a lot more money that we didn't expect to, obviously we didn't have nobody did, right? So, and, we're not Netflix. We're not some big Warner Brothers show. So we don't have that kind of padding that other, big productions have, right? So, we're scrambling a little bit, but I think we're gonna be okay.
Okay. When was it originally supposed to shoot? In August, or with the conditions being they are, did that get pushed back, or?
Yeah, originally, I was looking at last November,
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then there was like, I was trying to close financing and it just wasn't quite happening. And then, some other things kind of trickled in. So, okay, we can maybe do this in March. And then, slowly we realized it was like, okay, not March, it's going to be June, not June, maybe July.
Yeah.
And then finally we said, okay, August looks like it's going to be the sweet spot. And it turns out it is. Like, there's lots of shows going back now. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's the one thing I've been thinking about as far as production starting up again, is that it's going to be crazy busy as far as, people needing sound studios and, rental houses, just all that. Like, everyone's going to be fighting for something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, luckily Vancouver is very prepared, and we're a busy town to begin with. So, there's lots of, supplies available and crew. But, I mean, obviously things are happening very quickly and ramping up quickly. And a lot of shows that were happening and crew that were booked, they went on hiatus and they've been kind of waiting. So those people are already out of the mix.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you've had people that haven't been working for 4 months too. So they're anxious to get back to those bigger shows. Understandably so.
Right.
Yeah.
With the second season of NarcoLeap,
yeah,
was there what was something that you wanted to do in the second season that you couldn't do in the first one, or was there a message, even more of a message you were trying to say? Or
yeah, I mean, in terms of filming, I would love to do a car chase.
Yep.
But that's not going to happen.
Okay.
So I asked for a foot chase, and I don't know, maybe that could happen. We'll see. There's one more script that needs to be completed completely, so we'll see. Fingers crossed. But yeah, I mean, I'm getting there's some VFX stuff that I really wanted to do to be able to tell the story, and I think we'll be able to do that. So that's great. But in terms of message, Kelsey, I don't know if you've had a chance to see the series, or if you know kind of the log line of it, but she's a young girl with narcolepsy, and she's got this thing, and it's it's very reflective of my story in my early 20s. Not that I had narcolepsy, but just in the sense that as a young woman, you're trying to find your place in this world and trying to figure out to navigate love and relationships and all of this. And then you always feel like awkward, and you've got, that you're just awkward. And you don't even realize like your own superpower, like your own inner strength, you don't know what you have until it's gone.
Right. Of course. Yeah.
And so that's Kelsey's story. And what's wonderful in season 2 that I'm really happy that we're pulling out of the story is that she finds out that she's not alone, that there are others like her out there. And it's the story of her finding her own superpower, finding her own, realizing that she does have a superpower, and she's going to, use it. I'm not going to tell you how she's going to use it, but you got to watch season 2. Yeah.
I don't want to dwell on this, but to go back on the whole car chase thing. I don't know, and I don't want to tell you what to do. I know you're a creative person. I'm just going to throw this out there.
Okay,
I don't know if it takes place at night, but you do it old school style. You get miniatures, you get Hot Wheels, you green screen Mason, like doing his dialogue or whatever, screaming, and then boom, throw it in there.
It's done. Oh my gosh, you just saved me like $100,000.
Yes, and you know what? I got my niece and nephew. I think they got some cars. I'll send some for you if you want.
Oh, perfect. I would like that actually.
I'll Lysol them though, of course, for safety.
Okay, good.
But yeah.
That's awesome.
I chatted with Mason earlier. Madison. Sorry, Madison. I don't know why I'm saying Mason.
Yeah.
Madison a couple months ago, and he was a delight. So.
Yeah, he's great. I was just gonna say, no, we've been really lucky. Like, the show has really attracted incredibly talented people, but also just really good people, just really good people. And it's been a pleasure to work on this show. And that's kind of like you go to oh, sorry, I was just gonna say, you go to set and like you're reminded of like, oh, this is why I got into filmmaking, to like have these kinds of experiences. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's and especially, in your case where, it's not a huge set, and it'd be unfortunate to have a couple people that are just, oh boy.
Yeah.
But yeah. So for people at home who would like to keep up with everything that you're doing online and check out the project, all that good stuff, send Hot Wheels, where can they all do that?
The best and easiest is to go to our website, NarcoLeap.com, and all the episodes are on there. There's behind-the-scenes videos, cast, crew, photos, and there's also a link to our Indiegogo campaign too. But yeah, and then season 2 will also be on YouTube, and we'll post that on our website. But Highball TV will also be carrying it, which is a subscription platform for really great like content and like independent filmmakers and web series and shorts and features and Canadian content. So Highball TV, or we'll have it on our YouTube channel at NarcoLeap.com.
There we go. Thank you so much for chatting with me. Anytime you're a blast to talk to. I wish you luck on all your projects, and anytime you want to come back, just say the word, all right?
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for your interest, and I appreciate your time too. Thank you.
Of course. But I'll let you go and produce something. I don't know.
Yeah, something. I'm sure I'll produce something.
There we go.
Okay. All right, good. Take care. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.